All right, so it does appear we're live. Apologies for any and all delays. A little bit of a technical hiccup getting in. Just broadcasting this for all the Planet Granite folks and really throughout the entire nation. Just going to effectively teach on this is I'm going to say the first time where I've had the opportunity to do this without seeing who exactly was interacting. So just a 60-minute asana practice. That you can follow along to. I'm hoping that you can hear me clearly. Please notify me if you can't. And I'll just do my best to adjust. This is a little bit touch and go, a little bit of a transition to new technology and a new medium for me. So again, all of you all tuning in, thank you to everybody from Planet Granite. I have to say a special thank you real quick before we get started to all the staff, especially here in San Francisco, because those are the ones I know, but really throughout. And special thank you to the Planet Granite management. They came up really big for us, the yoga teachers, and I think for the staff in a way that I hadn't seen other studios do. Even the ones with the resources to do this. Nice, Talia, thank you. So special thank you to really Planet Granite for coming up really big in this scenario. So let's get it started. I'm gonna have you all get started seated. If you have a blanket handy, please do sit on it. You'll see, I'm hoping you can see, kind of broadcasting live. And as I back away a little bit, I'm hoping that the microphone continues to pick me up. Unfortunately, I can't really see the phone well enough to be able to tell what y'all are saying. So again, if you do have blankets handy to sit on, I do recommend sitting on them. I'm gonna guess that a lot of y'all probably are maybe not so open. If you do have blocks, please have them handy. And try to get started. So not a standard cross-legged seat. You can see my knees are more or less in front of my hip sockets. My shins are about, I'm gonna say, quote, parallel to the front of the mat. I'm angled in a little bit of an interesting way. And just take your thumbs right to very top of your thigh bones, right where your thigh bones and hip sockets meet. And try to drive your thumbs almost right into that area of the hip crease. Almost like you're driving your thigh bone a little bit deeper in your hip crease. And then inhale is going to have you lift your heart. As you exhale, just place your hands down. Now, those of you that are a little more open, you might begin to walk forward, and you might be able to see from this angle, I'm not quite sure, that I'm not rounding my spine. I'm actually trying to roll forward of my sitting bones in the process. Okay, and I'm not going to come terribly far forward. My outer hips are a little bit tight. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I went for like a 55-mile bike ride right before this. And didn't get to stretch out after. So some of the motions that I do, it'll show, the tightness will show. But really there's nothing to hide here. Now as you're in this kind of interesting cross-legged seat, I'm sure you can see for, I think, my left foot. Yes, my left foot. It's a little bit of a mirror image. I'm going to really try to squeeze down through the outer edge of my feet. And there's a little press forward through the big toe ball mound. And the idea is that you turn on the outer shin muscle, right? So the knee joint stays very stable. So you make sure it goes to the hips. The stretch goes into the hips, not the knees. Might continue to fold forward. Get about a few more breaths here. And try to lead with the crown of your head. Try to even drag your shoulder blades down your back. Some of you might even feel that the bottom tips of your shoulder blades lift your heart a little bit. And just one more inhale. And as you exhale, fold, let yourself round a bit. And slowly come on up. And I'm going to scooch back a little bit so you might be able to see me a little bit better. And we'll just come over to the second side. So cross the other shin in front. And again, you'll notice, I'm hoping that you can see from this angle, my feet come a little wider than my thigh bones. My knees more or less point straight ahead. Of course, this is pretty heavily dependent on the shape of your hips. Some of you with more naturally externally rotated hips, your knees will go a little bit wider. For most of y'all, I'm going to guess that that's not going to actually happen. So you might just kind of double check to make sure that you're being really genuine, right? And in these actions. Again, squeeze the outer edge of the feet down. You might begin to fold it forward. And there's a sense of tilting your pelvis forward. Not that you're slouching, right? There's a sense of almost elongating the front of your chest as you fold. And each inhale, you're going to pull the front of your heart a little bit more forward. Each exhale, try to move your heart forward as you fold. And you might find that one side's a little easier than the other. Again, from time to time, you might even take your thumbs down to your hip creases and kind of ground your thigh bones as you do this. Collarbone spread, one more inhale, and then exhale again, fold. Slowly come up, take both legs forward. Try to get your big toes to point straight up. You see me, I'm a little bit hammer-toed, so I'm really working with the outer edge of the foot pointing straight up. Inhale, heart lifts, and then exhale, you might fold forward a little more. Try to press through your big toe ball mounds and your inner heels as you begin to fold. And you might try to lift your kneecaps a little bit so your thighs kind of suck into your hip sockets, your heels squeeze to the mat. Each inhale pulls your heart more forward, so it's almost as though you're unrounding your back, and an exhale to fold. Take one more inhale here. And then exhale, fold, and then let your upper back begin to round. Even your chin draws to your chest. And just for giggles, squeeze your chin to your chest. Pull your collarbones out of your ears and round your upper back. And some of you, I can even feel it in the back of my scalp. The idea is that you're opening what some call the superficial backline of fascia, right? Which really runs from more or less your third eye point, up your forehead, over your scalp, all the way down your back body, all the way down, hips, backside, back of thighs, back of calves, and even to beneath your feet. Take one more inhale here. Audible sigh as you exhale. Do it, even if you're at home alone. Feel your belly soften in, up, and then slowly come up. Take a moment, just kind of swing your legs to the side, make your way to downward facing dog. I'm going to gently reposition the camera on the mat so you can maybe see me a little bit closer to in my entirety. Scooching this back a little bit, going to change the angle a little bit. So again, just kind of doing my best here to make sure that I'm relatively visible. As you make your way into the down dog, and if you're unsure of what I mean by any of this, you can feel free to take a look at the screen. Can you make the front of your spine longer? So those of you that are more tight in your back body, instead of kind of squeezing your heels to the mat and rounding your back, instead bend your knees, lift your heels, try to move your pubic bone up and back. Reach from the sides of your waist all the way through your index fingers. Upper outer arms wrap back. Big toe ball mounds press down, and feel the outer part of your shins kind of squeezing in the process. And you might even see as I do this, it's almost like I'm able to pull my pelvis a little farther back in space. If you need a pedal fidget fix, go for it. If you'd like to take a few deep breaths where you inhale and then exhale audibly and sigh it out, go for it. Your roommates or your significant other or your pets, if they look at you strange, don't worry about it. Maybe look at them strange back and say, what? See if you can begin to let your belly soften in on the exhales. Even draw in and up, right? So you get that sense of Uddiyana Bandha. And as you exhale, can you feel your sitting bones draw a little closer to each other? From time to time, check in. Do your ankles collapse out? Upper outer arms wrap back. One more inhale here. And as you exhale, just walk your hands back to your feet. Uttanasana in the back of the mat. Neck and head release. Big toe ball mounds press down. Try to lift the outer arches of your feet. Outer shins are hugging in. And those of you with tight hamstrings, bend your knees substantially. Those of you that know that you're tight in the back of your neck, your upper back, interlace your fingers at the back of your skull. Try to move your shoulders away from your ears. And then, you're not trying to rip your head off, but see if you can just feel on the exhales that you gently ease your head a little closer to the ground. And again, those of you that are very tight in the hamstrings, do please bend into your knees in this process. Take it out of the hamstrings. Try not to force anything open. Each inhale, you might even feel that the back of your lungs begin to inflate a little bit more, begin to expand a little bit more. Each exhale, see if you can feel that your belly softens to your spine. If you'd like to sway it side to side, you're welcome to do so. For me, I just kind of like to walk my hands side to side on the ground so I get a little stretch in the side waist and outer hip. And then slowly walk your hands back to center. Now, feel that what you're doing, you're trying to press the top part of your calves forward. So that space just beneath your knee. Press that forward as your heels root. Keep that sensation. Walk your hands forward. Nice and easy to the down dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And just kind of check in. Do you lean more into one leg? Do you lean more into one arm? Can you get really, really strong through the arms? Can you press down through the base of your index fingers? Lift your forearms to the front of the mat. Inhale is going to carry your right leg all the way to the ceiling. As you exhale, just roll your right hip open, stack it on top of your left. Keep your upper outer arms wrapping back. Keep both arms strong. Maybe you bend your knee a little bit more. Try to lift your left hip up and back in the process. Inhale, square it off. Feel your low back get really wide. Exhale, both feet down, down dog. And the same thing, the second side. Left leg lifts as you inhale. Try to keep your hips moving back as you in space. As you exhale, roll that left hip open, stack it on top of your right. And, again, if you're unsure of what I mean, you can take a little look at the screen. If you find like your elbows just kind of buckle, right, that your arms are giving way, try to get stronger through the arms. Try to wrap your upper outer arms back. Press down through the base of your big toe. Press your left thigh back in space. Tail is lengthening. Inhale, square it off. Exhale, both feet down. Down dog. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, bend your knees, look past your hands. Now feel your forearms lift to the front of the mat. Tiptoe your feet to the front of the mat. Keep pressing the ground away as you tiptoe to the front of the mat. Collarbones are spreading. Right? Maybe you even have a moment where you try to lift one leg and then the other or both. And then forward fold, front of the mat. Neck and head release. Bend into your knees generously. Exhale. Curl your tail under. Begin to roll up one vertebrae at a time. And then coming all the way to the top of the mat. Mountain pose Tadasana. Feel that your inner heels press down. Feel that your big toe ball mounds press down. Tail is going to anchor downward and fronts of hips lift. So you see me, and I'm going to kind of turn so you can maybe see a little more clearly. Clear the chat box out of the way if it's there. Right? If I'm uncareful, if I'm really kind of unaware of what I'm doing, see my tail sticks out. I'm exaggerating, but not that much. So see if you can for today, roll those outer thighs forward, anchor your tail down, feel your low belly draw in and up. Shoulders go down your back, and as you go to lift your heart, instead of kind of flaring your ribs forward, can you hug them in, even as your shoulder blades drag down your back? Exhale first. As you inhale, reach your arms out and up, Urdhva Hastasana, the upward hand salute. Exhale, fold from your hips, Uttanasana. As you inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, pull your heart forward, inner heels press, big toe ball mounds press. As you exhale, step back with your left foot first. Stay here for just a breath. Make your left leg very strong. Right heel roots. Take an inhale. Pull your heart forward as you exhale, step back to plank. Inhale and plank. And then just for fun, bring your knees down. Anchor your tail towards your pubic bone. You should feel your abdominal muscles turn on. Keep that. Pull your shoulder blades down your back. Press down through the inner part of your hands as your elbows bend. Now, shoulders as you lower down slowly. You're not there all the way yet. Please don't rush. I know some of y'all are rushing. I don't even need to see you to know that some of y'all are rushing. Right? Press back to plank. Wrap your upper outer arms back. And by the way, that's, if you don't know me, that's an attempt at humor. It's a little bit dry. Okay, it's like Sahara Desert dry humor. Anyway, shoulders onto your back. Try to keep your shoulders out of your ears and on your back as you slowly lower. Try not to lose the anchoring of your tail. Lower all the way to the mat. Untuck your toes. Reach your arms straight back. If you have a hand towel, strap, or anything like that, go for it. If it feels okay to interlace fingers, go for it. Squeeze your shoulder blades together on your back just for this first one. So your collarbones get really broad. Lift your heart. Baby cobra, just a few breaths. Collarbone spread, heart lifts. Take one more inhale. Exhale lowers you all the way down. Hands come down by your low ribs. Leave your toes untucked. Try to squeeze down through your pinky toenails. Pull your heart forward, lift to baby cobra. Now, if you're somebody that lifts to baby cobra and your shoulders droop, your elbows splay, hug your elbows in, move your shoulders onto your back, even pull your hands apart. Pull your heart forward and lift. One more inhale. Exhale, belly to spine and lower. Tuck your toes, take an inhale. Exhale, press the hands, knees, or plank. Take one inhale and plank. Exhale to down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Next inhale, you're going to lift your right leg to the ceiling. Exhale, just step it up. Take one inhale here. Try to pull your heart forward. Squeeze your inner right heel down. Exhale, step to the front of the mat and fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, hands to your hips. Now notice if you're hanging out in your heels, press through your big toe ball mounds. Try to press the tops of the calves forward. Stand up all the way. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more time, one more round like that. Inhale, arms to the ceiling. Exhale, swan dive it down. Inhaling to the Ardha Uttanasana. This time, exhale, step back with your right foot. Again, squeeze your inner left heel down. Make your right leg stronger than you think you need. Squeeze your outer left hip in. Inhale to plank. Again, tail anchors towards your pubic bone as you exhale, lower. Chaturanga Dandasana, right? So you're lowering halfway, shoulders stay on your back. Now you can either just lower your hips to the mat for baby cobra or move to up dog if you're ready for it. In both cases, your toes untuck. Squeeze the tops of your feet down. Lengthen your toes back and suck your thigh bones into your hip sockets. Tail is anchoring your pubic bone so you keep it out of your low back. Exhale up and back, down dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Couple of breaths here. Can you keep your inner thighs rolling back? Can you press your tops of your thighs into the backs of your hips? Right? So your pelvis has this sense of being, drawn. Like there's a magnetic force pulling it back, 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 back. Next inhale, lift your left leg to the ceiling. Exhale, knee to chest, step it through. Take one inhale here, squeeze your inner left heel down. Exhale, step up and fold. Inhaling the Ardha Uttanasana, pull your heart forward. Try not to lean to your heels. Squeeze your feet down. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, stands you up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Surya Namaskar, Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms to the ceiling. Exhale, fold you forward. Inhale, pull your heart forward. Most of y'all, hands are on your shins. Try not to jam your knees back. As you exhale, fold, pull your heart forward, step or jump, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling Urdhva Mukha, the up dog or the cobra, whatever you're ready for. Exhale, down dog. About 5 breaths here. Now, from time to time, check in. Do you lean to one side or the other? Do you rely more on one arm or the other? And try to get very even through the arms, very even through the legs. It's easier said than done. Especially if anybody is that's tuned in is dealing with scoliosis. Right? It might be really, really hard to feel that your pelvis gets level, right? That your arms are kind of equally lengthening. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, bend your knees deeply. Press your hips back. Get ready to pounce. Lift your forearms. Step, jump, front of the mat. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to fold. Inhale, stand you up all the way, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more round like that. Inhale, arms to the ceiling. Exhale, fold you forward. Inhaling the Ardha Uttanasana. Pull your heart forward, inner heels press. Exhale, step or jump. Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling the Urdhva, up dog, cobra if you prefer. Exhaling down dog. Now if anybody tuning in needs to take child's pose whenever in this practice, you're welcome to go for it. What I am going to ask you to do is make sure you stay in the practice. Even if, let's say your dog or cat suddenly decides that, they're very good friends with you. Of course are always very good friends with you, but they get very affectionate. See if you can keep your breath consistent. It's easier said than done, but really that's a great way to help stay in the practice. Take one more inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, look past your hands. Again, step, jump, handstand, top of the mat. Inhaling, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to fold. Inhale is going to stand you up all the way, Urdhva. Exhale, hands to heart center. Now I'm going to pivot face towards the camera so that you can actually see, I hope, what my arms do, what my legs do. Take your feet, I'm going to say about 6 to 8 inches apart. Bend your knees enough to grab your big toes. Right? You want your palms to basically face each other. You're using your index, middle finger, and thumb to grab your big toes. You're lifting your big toes but pressing down through your big toe ball mounds. Inhale, bend your knees if you need to kind of pull your heart forward. Exhale, pull your heart to the earth. Neck and head releases. But your shoulders, instead of letting them slump, I don't know if you can see with the shirt, but you're going to pull your shoulders away from your ears and then let your chin bow to your chest. Right, so this is Padangusthasana, the hand of big toe pose. Each inhale, you're going to pull forward a little bit. Each exhale, you're going to fold forward a little more. Inhale, pull your heart forward. Try to press through the inner part of your feet. Exhale, fold you forward. Try not to hang out in your heels. Right? Really often we just kind of let the hips settle back. Nudge the tops of your calves forward at all times in perpetuity. Take one more inhale. Last exhale here. This time inhaling Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, lifts you up the rest of the way. Exhale, hands to heart center. And then anybody tuning in from SF, right, or the practices with me or my teacher, Annie Carpenter, you'll know this next one. Talia, I know you're going to love this chair pose. Sit low. Right? Try to really get your hips about even with your knees. Arms, keep them up if you can, but if you're like shrugging your shoulders and kind of feeling like you're taking on like that tension, you can bring your hands to heart center is fine. Shift your weight to your left foot. Squeeze your inner left heel down, hover your right foot about an inch off the mat. Now there's a thing here, right? That knee is going to want to collapse in. You're going to want to come out of the pose. All of a sudden you'll remember your grocery list from like 3 years ago. Sit lower, squeeze your inner left heel down, point your left knee forward, and for that to happen, right, you have to kind of squeeze the inner left heel down and hug that outer left hip in. Take one more inhale, exhale, switch feet. Same thing, second side. For me, this is my hard side. For you, it might be the easier side. Both sides might kind of suck, and if it's really difficult, if you're practicing on a carpet, it's going to be harder. If the floor is soft, the mat is soft, it's going to be harder. But sit a little lower if you can. And again, that inner right heel squeezes down, the outer right hip hugs in. You might feel the hamstring turn on, right? And those of you that know me will probably feel that your opinion of me goes right back to where it was when you were doing this with me in class in person. Take one more inhale. Exhale, both feet down. Take an inhale in chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Pull your heart forward. As you exhale, make your way to down dog, however you want, right? You can step, you can jump, land in the chaturanga, the cobra, the up dog, straight back to down dog. You can, of course, go through child's pose, pass go, collect $200, and that's for the Monopoly people. Next inhale is going to lift your right leg to the ceiling. Exhale, shift forward, try to squeeze your right knee to the outside of your right shoulder. Now, make your left leg important. Hug your left hip in. Roll your left thigh in and anchor your tail. Inhale, right leg goes way up and back. Exhale, step it through. Your left heel, turn it down. Right? And if you're unsure of what I mean, again, you can take a look. Your left thigh, you're going to roll it forward in space. Right? You're going to feel that your right hip pulls back. Your hips square to the front of the mat. Inhale, warrior one. Right, now there's a great Ashtanga teacher. He lives in Hawaii now. Was located in Southern California for many years, named Chuck Miller. One thing that he's said time and time again, I've only got a limited experience with him, but everybody I know will say that he repeats himself on this. Make it too easy to start. Maybe the stance goes shorter or wider so you can really square your hips. Once you get your right knee pointing forward, left hip even with your right, what if you take a little longer stance? Then you're going to have to work harder to roll that left thigh in and anchor that tail down, arms up. Again, if you're shrugging your shoulders, can you instead maybe roll your triceps forward, biceps into your ears, and that's going to get you out of the upper trap. If that's too much, hands, heart center, or your hips is fine. Take one more inhale, bend more into your right knee, reach up, maybe palms touch. Exhale, hands to the earth. Shorten the stance about a third of the way. I go a little less than that. I go a pretty long stance for the pyramid pose, stand up. Now on this one, both legs are straight. Again, make sure your hips square. Take the extra moment to really make sure that you're even between your left side and right side. That the only difference is that your legs are doing something different. Maybe your hands go to your hips. Maybe, fist bump. Those of you that can, and I'm going to turn so you can see me, reverse prayer. So if this is happening, your shoulders are slumped, you start looking like Quasimodo, maybe feeling like him, come to one of the other options. If you can, palms together in between your shoulder blades. Again, hips are still square to the front of the mat. Squeeze your inner left heel down. Squeeze your right big toe ball mound down. Inhale, tail anchors down, heart lifts. Press down through your right big toe. Hug your right hip back, come forward. Try not to round your back to start. Try to keep your right hip hugging back and in. Pull your heart forward as you fold from the hips. Some of you can even find that maybe you can lift your kneecap a little bit, meaning that your quadricep muscle on your right side turns on, and lift your pubic bone up and back. For me, that increases the level of stretch in the back of the thigh. That increases the level of the stretch throughout the top of the foot. Take one more inhale. Keep your shoulders on your back. Please don't let them slump. Exhale, fold from your hips, then round your back. Let your hands come to the ground or to blocks if they don't get all the way to the ground easily. If blocks aren't handy, maybe hands on hips, maybe hands on books. Really, whatever works. Slow bend to your right knee. Step your left foot back. Pull your heart forward. Inhale to plank. And again, as you exhale, inner hands press, shoulders stay on your back as you move through the chaturanga. You can move through the cobra or up dog. Make your way to the down dog as you're ready. Second side, left leg lifts as you inhale. And exhale again, left knee to the outside of your left shoulder. Try to get it to hover. Again, can you squeeze your right hip in? Can you roll your right thigh in and anchor your tail back in space? Inhale, left leg up and back. Exhale, step it through. Right heel. Again, turn it down. Shorten the stance, widen enough so you can roll that right thigh inward. Hug that left hip back. And then inhale to the warrior one. Exhale, bend into your left knee a little more if you can. And if you find that your low back crunches, that you're hanging out in your low back and your kidneys, unbend your knee a little bit. Anchor your tail down. Make your low back longer and then keep that as you rebend the knee. You might not go as far down, but it's better for your low back. Arms up if they're not already. If your arms get tired, bring them down. It's just fine. You're never less of a practitioner. All right, I'm just asking for you to be increasingly aware of your tendencies, your habits, and to the best of your ability to keep drawing attention to what seems to go slack or wander off, kind of escape from the sense of the field of awareness first. Maybe you bend more into your front knee, roll that right thigh in, anchor the tail, inhale, heart lifts, maybe palms touch, exhale, hands down. Again, shorten the stance, maybe a third of the way. For me, I go kind of long with the stance. It's not an issue of right and wrong. You'll stand up all the way. Again, the same thing. Maybe it's fist bumping, maybe it's hands at your hips. And you see, for me, my hands are at my hips, but I can still make my shoulders a part of my back. Part of the reason I'm wearing this brightly colored shirt, but those of you that know me know I do that kind of stuff anyway. Right? Again, the reverse prayer if it's pertinent, right? If it's part of your practice already. If it's like, oh, a big struggle, leave it behind. It's not worth struggling in this asana practice. This asana practice is training to ease the mind, not mess with it, right? We already have enough unnecessary stress these days. Inhale, heart lifts. Again, try not to let your left hip hang out. That's something that loves to happen here. I love to give the people to practice with me all sorts of crap for this. Right? Press down through your left big toe ball mound. Hug your left hip back. Think heart moves forward. And then, I don't know if you could see it real well from this camera angle, but I'm really working to lift my pubic bone up and back. It's almost like I'm sticking my tail out. in the process of folding. Right? The idea is that you're increasing, you're really getting more aware of what's known as hip flexion, right? And decreasing the rounding of the spine. So it's not just a kind of habitual collapse, but rather that there's a sense of a genuine fold. Press down through your left big toe ball mount, roll that right thigh in, squeeze that inner right heel back. Take one more inhale, pull your heart forward, and then exhale, fold. Let your arms come down for a moment. Slow bend into your front knee again. Step back into the lunge first. Inhale back to the plank pose second. And again, if you'd like to go straight back to down dog, go for it. If you need child's pose, please do take it. And if you'd like to move through the cobra or the up dog, again, the inner hands press. The shoulder heads stay a part of your back as you move through that. Please do that. The folks that learn how to turn on those back rotator cuff muscles and keep them turned on in that vinyasa, you know, they sustain a lot less wear and tear on the shoulders. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, bend your knees, look past your hands. Step, jump. Again, maybe handstand. Try to get your hips high if you got space for it. And landing at the front of the mat. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana. Again, what do your feet do? Do your ankles collapse out? Press through the inner feet. Exhale to fold. Inhale stands you up all the way. Exhale, hands to heart center. And pivot. Say pivot to your left or your right, whatever works. Right, I'm just kind of turning so that I can kind of keep a half an eye on the camera. Right, bring your hands to your hips. Point your big toes forward or out 1 inch. Try not to turn them in. Really often we're told to turn our toes in. And here's the deal. If you're in the NFL, right, you're an offensive lineman or maybe even defensive lineman, you know, turn your toes in because your hamstrings might be that tight. But for the rest of us, even folks like myself with tighter hamstrings, toes point forward. The reason why is you don't want to overstretch that connection point right at the sitting bone, right? Creates a little tear there. It takes about 6 months to heal. Kind of sucks. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, folds you forward. And again, those of you that like to hang out way in the back of your feet, press down through your big toe ball mounts. Try to get your hips about even with your knees. Pull your heart forward as you inhale, and exhale, you fold. Right? And, you know, if your head comes to the ground very easily, shorten your stance. Take your feet a little closer together, but I'm going to bet 60 to 70% of you tuned in will need a wider stance. Right? Each inhale, heart lifts. Keep the tops of your calves pressing forward. Each exhale folds. Now, if you'd like to walk your hands back, walk your hands back. Can you keep your fingertips pointing forward and drag your shoulder blades down your back in the process? Now, as your elbows bend, they're going to want to bend out. Hug them in, please, same as you would for chaturanga. If you're not doing it in chaturanga, you need to do it there too. One more inhale, pull your heart forward. Press down through your inner feet. Feel the inner arches lift, the outer shins hug in as you fold. Inhale lifts you up about halfway. As you exhale, bend into your right knee. Let your right toes turn out about 45 degrees. Turn your left toes out the same amount. Right? And press out through your right thigh. So you're opening the inner right groin. Right? Pulling your heart forward. Inner left groin is stretching slowly over to center and over to the second side. Keep pressing out through your left thigh as you bend that knee. Try not to let the knee collapse in. It loves to happen for almost everybody, myself included, and a little bit of a shift back and forth. So I'm going to call it about the halfway point, and I know it's a little past 6:30, but due to the technical difficulties, and that's 100% my fault, I was underprepared. Won't happen next time, which I believe is March 30th. Okay. I'm just going to shift a little bit, kind of forward and back, and then slowly come to center, turn your toes forward, come forward, or lift halfway, exhale, come up all the way. Turn your right toes out. Straight forward. Left toes, you'll see for me they turn in, if you can see the angle, about 25-ish degrees, whatever. Feel your left thigh roll in, and you see how my right hip is collapsed forward. Most of y'all are going to do that, or about half of y'all probably will, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Lift your left hip, squeeze that, lift your right hip, squeeze that left hip forward, bend your right knee, so warrior two. Right? And, you know, your left thigh, the left hip doesn't collapse forward, but your left thigh rolls in just enough to release glute max on the left side. So it's like your cheek relaxes, not the one on your face, that one on your backside. Tail anchors down. Right thigh is wrapping out and under as your right heel squeezes down. And then, you know, you can look over your right middle finger, pull your shoulders down your back, roll your left ribs back, even as you press out through your right thigh. Couple of breaths here. Can you keep the inner arch of that left foot lifting, that inner left heel squeezing back, even as you bend more into the right knee? One more inhale. Exhale, straighten your right leg. Roll your right thigh out. Let that left hip, and you can see for me, if I let my left hip swivel forward, my right hip moves farther back. I can press through my right big toe ball mound. In my case, my hand, it should be on a block, but it's not immediately handy. So I'm just going to kind of be on the fingertips here. Left arm to the ceiling, the Trikonasana. Keep pressing through your right big toe ball mound. Keep rolling that right thigh out and under. Suck your right thigh bone back into your hip socket. Feel how that left hip kind of rolls forward enough, and that's going to help you drag that right hip back and make that right side waist longer. Left ribs hug to your midline as they turn to the ceiling. So it is a little bit of oblique and transverse abdominis work. Drag your shoulders down your back. Take an inhale. Keep your right knee pointing forward. Exhale, bend your right knee. Keep it pointing forward. Left arm over your left ear. Squeeze that inner left heel back as you reach through your left pinky tip. Squeeze your right heel down and turn your left ribs to the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, press down through your feet, warrior two. Straighten your right leg. Turn your right toes in. Make sure they go all the way in. Try not to leave them hanging out. Left toes point to the back of the mat. And again, that same thing. That left hip wants to collapse. Lift your left hip. Hug your right hip forward. Bend your, left knee in a warrior two. That right thigh bone moves to the back of the hip socket. The tail anchors down. So your core, your middle's always holding you and supporting you. Your right ribs roll back as that left thigh wraps out and under. Keep squeezing that inner right heel back. Keep squeezing that left heel through the mat. Tail is anchoring down. Low ribs hugging in. You know, some of y'all, and I do the same thing if I'm not careful, there's a tendency to kind of let the belly hang out and kind of, it's like way out in the low back. Everything kind of crunches. Anchor your tail. Keep your sacrum safe. Part of the reason we swivel the right hip forward. Gaze over your left middle finger. Shoulders out of your ears. Take an inhale. Exhale, straighten your left leg. Press down through your left big toe ball mound. And again, you might even take your right heel a little to the right to make it easier. It's fine. Roll that left thigh out and under. Right hip swivels forward just enough to bring you into the Trikonasana, the triangle pose. Again, feel that left big toe ball mound press down. Left thigh bone suck back. Turn your right ribs to the ceiling. Tail's anchoring back. Heart's moving forward. And it's almost like your tailbone and the back of your skull move in opposite directions. Keep pressing through your left big toe ball mound. Really try to spread your toes here. Take one more inhale. Exhale, rebend your left knee. Take your right arm over your right ear. And can you create more space between your right pinky tip and inner right heel? So your right thigh is rolling in, tail's lengthening, right ribs rolling to the ceiling. Press out through your left thigh, inhale. Or exhale, come back to warrior two. Hug that right hip forward. Straighten your left leg. Turn all 10 toes to face the same direction. Take an inhale. As you exhale, heel toe your feet together. You might take a couple of breaths. Once your feet get together, you can step or jump your feet to the front of the mat. Tadasana mountain pose. One time, inhale Utkatasana, the chair pose. Exhale, ribs to thighs and then fold Uttanasana. Inhaling Ardha Uttanasana. As you exhale, step, maybe jump. Chaturanga Dandasana. Cobra or the up dog. Exhaling down dog. Next inhale is going to carry that right leg up and back. Exhale, step your right foot to the inside of your right hand. Left heel turns down, and if you do have a block, you might want it kind of to the right of your right foot here. Inhale, warrior one, and then exhale, warrior two. Roll your right thigh out and under. Roll that left thigh. Anchor your tail down. Begin to reach forward. Straighten your right leg. You might even take your right thumb to your right hip crease and kind of clear, wrap the flesh right at the top of your right thigh to your outer hip. Tail is anchoring back into the trico. Pull your heart forward. Squeeze that right big toe ball mound down. Try not to let your right hip hang out and your right knee collapse in. Not such a good thing for the knee joint. Really need that outer glute muscle working. You'll feel it in a moment. Bend your right knee, look down. Step your left foot in as little as you need. Take the block with you. Hand might stay on the ground. If you keep your hand on the ground, bend your right knee. Otherwise, right leg straightens, left leg lifts. Into the beloved half moon, and I'm going to slide back a little bit here so you can actually kind of see me. Right? And then feel that right thigh continues to wrap out and under. Inner right heel presses down, and it's that right outer hip, that right outer glute squeezing in that kind of turns that left hip open. Left thigh is rolling in. Low ribs are hugging in. And again, from your tail to the back of your skull, can you create more length? Can you press down through your right arm and turn your left ribs to the ceiling? Left arm is reaching up. Take one inhale. Listen carefully. Bend your right knee. Keep your left leg lifted. Bend your right knee. Point it forward. Keep your left leg lifted. Bend your right knee. Keep it forward. Keep it pointing forward, rather. Keep your left leg lifted. Right, and then very, very slowly, thinking your heart moves forward, right hip hugs back and in as you make your way through, maybe missing the mat and sliding on the wood floor as I've done, into the triangle pose. Slow bend into your right knee. Left arm reaches forward into the Parshva Konasana and all the way up to Warrior 2. One inhale, reverse your warrior. Exhale, windmill it down. You can go through Cobra or Up Dog. You can make your way back to Down Dog. And I'm going to slide this back a little bit and actually change position so I'm still looking at the camera as I go to the second side. Take your block, place it to the left side of your mat. As you inhale, carry your left leg up and back behind you. Exhale, step it through. Again, right heel turns down. Inhale to the Warrior 1. Exhale opens you to the Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. And try to make sure that your right heel is in line with your left heel, or your left heel is a little to the left. The idea of left heel in line with right arch, especially those of you still actively climbing, you know, I know the national parks have like dropped their entrance fees and things like this. Most of y'all, you know, and I'm one of them, hips aren't really that open, right? And that initial cue is set up for like 13-year-old kids, you know, in ashrams way back when. Straighten your left leg. Again, feel that left thigh wrap out and under. Feel that right thigh roll in enough to anchor your tail into the Trikonasana, triangle pose. And you see, right, I'm kind of flopped a little on my left side. But if I roll that right hip forward, press that left thigh back, I get more length. Slow bend into your left knee. Again, do recommend hand on a block. If there's no block, keep your left knee bent, place your left fingertips on the floor, shift it forward into the half moon. Ardha Chandrasana. If you fall out a little bit, it's fine. Right, feel that inner left heel, that left big toe ball mound press down. Roll that left thigh out and under. Hug that left hip back in space. Feel it's not the main part of the glute clenching. It's the outer corner of the glute, like the divot of the glute clenching. Right thigh lifts actively. Right? And if you're not clenching your right glute, but turning your right thigh in, and then lifting from the inner groin, you'll feel, again, that same part of the outer glute, that divot, kind of clench or increase in its depth. Again, turn your left ribs to the ceiling. The right arm can reach up. And then again, can you lengthen your tail back and move the back of your skull forward? Right? So you get longer across the back of your spine. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, slow bend into your left knee. Try to keep your right leg lifted. Try to point your left knee forward. And again, think of your right heel kicking back, but the back of your skull moving forward as you slowly lower that right leg to the back of the mat and straighten your left leg to come into the Trikonasana triangle pose. Slow bend into your left knee, right arm over your right ear, Parshva Konasana, the side angle. Come all the way up to the Warrior 2. Reverse your Warrior 1 time. Try to really keep that left knee bent and lift your left hip away from your left thigh. Make the left side waist longer. Exhale, windmill it down. You can go through Cobra or Up Dog. You can make your way back to Down Dog or the Mukha Svanasana. You can take a few breaths here. And again, I'm going to do my best here. I'm going to change angle for this next part because I do want you to be able to see what I'm doing. And what I'm going to actually do is demo on the tighter side. So you get to see me struggle a little bit and have to work to practice what I preach. So I might ask, if you're unfamiliar with Ekapada Vinyasa 2, you can bring your knees down to the mat and just take a look at the screen. Right? And again, I'm demoing on my left side just because it's very uncooperative at times. Now, inhale is going to carry your left leg all the way up. Right? And you can just watch me on this one. Exhale, I'm bringing my left knee to the outside of my left shoulder. Now, as I begin to bend my elbows, watch my right elbow. My right shoulder stays onto my back. My right elbow is not under my right hip. Right? Otherwise, what happens is the shoulder collapses. It's not good for the bicep tendon. I don't think it's good for the rotator cuff either. My left thigh is on my left tricep. I'm going to extend my left leg, keep my shoulders onto my back, thinking left thigh rolls out, right thigh rolls in, tail lengthens, maybe both legs lift into the Ekapada Vinyasa 2. The idea is that what I can do is jump back and land in chaturanga. Nothing changes. And then second side, right? So I'm going to give you about 60 seconds right now to try one side and then the other. If you instead prefer child's pose or would like to go to dolphin pose, please do. I'm going to take this moment to have a little tea. And if you haven't gotten to the second side, you can go there now. And again, just if you're looking for a quick review, again on that second side, right? Elbows bend, but it's chaturanga in the arms. Notice my shoulders not collapsed. Shoulders stay on my back, heart's moving forward. Right leg extends. Left thigh's rolling in, and there's a sense of hugging your right hip back, hugging your outer left hip in. So when you come back to chaturanga, nothing changes. And then down dog. So you're not already in down dog. If you haven't done both sides, you might wrap it up. Make your way to down dog as you're ready. Take an inhale. And then exhale, side out. Next inhale, lift your right leg to the ceiling. As you exhale, pull your right knee to your chest. Pigeon pose. Now you'll see for me, in the single leg pigeon, my right shin is nowhere near parallel to the front of the mat. Excuse me. Unless you have very open hips, honestly, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it for most practitioners. I think it creates an issue where, especially if your hips are tight or they're not naturally externally rotated, that instead of opening the hip, you kind of torque the knee joint. I messed my knees up practicing doing foolish stuff for a couple of years. And so now a lot of the work that I do is stabilizing. So you might follow that. And if your sitting bone doesn't touch the ground easily, block under your right sitting bone or blanket might feel good. Some of you, and this isn't for everybody, my roommate really digs it, I really dig it. Block under your left thigh, so for your back leg, as you come on in, gives a little bit more, it allows the pelvis to stay a little more even. Of course, if you feel this in your right knee at all, you can take a moment to come lying on your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh, doing the figure four. Now, if you're somebody whose shoulders come way off the mat when you do this, place a blanket under your head, or if you have like a towel handy or something, or a rag, take that around your left thigh so your shoulders can relax. Squeeze your right ankle against your left thigh. If you're taking a reclined variation, press out through your right thigh. Just got about a few more breaths here. Nice, and then slowly come on out. Those of you from single leg pigeon, you might go back to down dog. If you're reclined, lying on your back for figure four, you'll just take your legs to the ceiling and switch sides. So as you're ready, second side. Again, if you're doing the belly down variation of pigeon, that left shin, some of you will take your left shin parallel to the front of the mat. Most of you will not. I see there are about 16 people tuned in. I'm going to guess about maybe 2 of you will take your left shin parallel to the front of the mat. And again, you know, there are different ways to do this. Some folks do the whole like lean way to the side and shin parallel to the front of the mat. It's a different stretch. I don't know that it's terribly good for your low back, right? It kind of creates a situation where it has to torque a little bit. And I don't recommend that. You know, sacrum, that area where the spine insets, you know, in between the ilium, the hip bones, it's important. You know, you don't want to mess that up. And again, if you're reclined in the figure four, you know, you can take that as well. If you are taking the, you know, the variation on your back where your left ankle is over your right thigh, do flex your left toes towards your left shin. If you're taking the belly down variation, what if you were to pull your heart forward, try to elongate the front of your torso as you lowered it to the mat? It's about 3 more breaths. And slowly come on up all the way. All right, those of you lying on your back, you can stay on your back and just take your legs to the ceiling briefly. Bend your knees, place your feet on the mat. Those of you that come from the belly down version, however you want to get onto your back, go for it. If you're interested, you might, you know, take a shoulder down dog, bend your knees, look past your hands. And again, wrap those upper outer arms back, pull your collarbones apart as you reach to the arms, and then bend your knees, step or jump, landing in a seat. And you just come to line on your back. I'm going to drop change out of my pocket here. And then I'll spin around so you can see my shoulders. Just a brief bridge pose. Right, you'll see that I'm coming in, and if you don't normally start with this variation, I'm going to recommend it, hoping that you can see me. With your arms to the ceiling, you'll notice my knees point straight up. I'm going to use a block here between my thighs, just to make sure that my knees stay straight ahead. And then think arm bones plug in, pressing through your feet and lifting up. And the idea is that you press your feet down, press your shin bones back, and that's going to help you to roll more on top of your shoulders. Try not to let your chin bow to your chest at all. In fact, resist it away. Keep your neck safe. The idea is to try to get on top of your shoulders without changing the natural curve of your neck. And you know, those of you, like you'll see I can't get all the way on top of my shoulders, which is why I need blankets for shoulder stand. And if that's happening for you, just keep that in mind. I think for the next class, I might even mess around with that tutorial. I think that's going to be Monday, March 30th at 6 p.m. I'm going to also write that down so I don't forget. Right, arm bones stay plugging in. Shoulder heads press to the mat. Last couple breaths. Interlace your fingers or grab the edges of the mat. Try to pull the edges of the mat apart. Keep your inner heels squeezing down. Many of you are probably going to need to turn your toes in a little bit, especially if you don't have a block between your thighs. Take one more inhale. Exhale, lengthen your tail. Try to lower down one vertebrae at a time. If you have something between your thighs, remove it. Just kind of windshield wiper your knees. Pull your right knee to your chest. Let your left leg extend to the end of the mat. And then roll over onto your left hip. Take your right arm to the right. So a little gentle twist here. And then, you know, if you're like me, there's sometimes some belly clenching that happens on the exhales. See if you can soften your belly in this twist as you exhale. Take an inhale here. Exhale, come back to center. Let your right leg extend, pull your left knee to your chest. Take your right hand to the outside of your left thigh, roll to your outer right hip, and twist. And you know, in this twist, for me, I have a tendency to stick my tail out when I twist. If you either have a tendency to kind of round and hunch or stick your tail out, see if you can kind of notice where that tendency is and elongate that part of your spine. So it's a more even distribution of twist throughout the entire back. Take one more inhale. And then exhale, slowly come back to center. Take a moment, just bend your knees, and you know, if you want your hands behind your thighs for happy baby, that works. If you want to grab the outer edges of your feet, that works as well. And for some of you, this is going to be a little bit of an inner groin opener. Some of you might feel it in the hips. Maybe a little rock side to side. And then when you're ready, you can just kind of bring your knees into your chest and squeeze in. On an exhale, feel your belly draw to your spine. Let your legs extend to the end of the mat. Shavasana, corpse pose. And just take an inhale. And then audibly sigh out your exhale. Let it go. And even if you do have, let's say, roommates or family members, you know, be they, you know, two-legged or four-legged, and trying to draw your attention. See if you can, you know, not like actively try to block them out, but kind of set them aside. Almost feel as though that they're you know, that them or whatever might be trying to get your attention physically gets farther away. See if you can feel that your central nervous system is settling. See if you can feel that you're moving towards a state of being effectively unconcerned with anything. Right? There's that kind of liberation from the demands of existence. I'm just taking a couple minutes here. take a slow inhale. Feel your lungs fill entirely, especially the back part of your lungs. And then exhale it all out. And slowly ease your arms back behind you. Reach your toes forward. As you inhale, feel the entirety of your body yawn upward, almost as though it could lift off the mat. And then exhale. Slowly roll to a side and make your way to a seat. As you make your way to a seat, can you leave the concern for the world around you just aside? And maybe in place, let gratitude find center stage and proliferate just a little bit. And as you steep in gratitude for just a moment, see if you can recognize that peace that comes with Shavasana is always attainable, that it always resides within you. And that, when it's more quiet around you, you can let it proliferate maybe more easily. But at least in theory, even in the most chaotic or scary of moments, that sense of peace, that it might actually be reachable, that you might be able to make contact with it and bring it to the forefront of your experience. Just an idea to play with. And let's end with a simple wish that the benefits of this practice that we receive, right, and the good fortune in life that we receive, that it can extend forward and be of good fortune and benefit and effectively a blessing to all beings without exception. And on behalf of Planet Granite, I'm Adam Maringolo. You can also kind of check for me under Keystone Yoga, but that's a forthcoming thing. And I will see you, I believe, Monday, March 30th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Appreciate you all very much. Special thank you to everybody involved, Anna Seals, Janet Carter, of course, Joey at Planet Granite SF, and really, if y'all know kind of my musical background, all massive, all crew, stateside and worldwide. Namaste. Wow. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Talia. Ooh, Leslie, Becca. Nice, y'all.